Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on from where you're logging in. Welcome to Beyond Sport's inaugural workshop week. My name's Radha. I'm Director of Design and Facilitation at thinkBeyond, the purpose-driven advisory arm of Beyond Sport. And it's a privilege and a pleasure to be hosting you over the coming days. Thank you so much for your patience this morning. We were working through some connectivity issues with our opening speaker, who is coming to us live from South Africa. So we're now ready, so let's get started. In these strange times, we are all indeed looking for connection, for ways to improve ourselves. We're striving to reinvent the way we do business, and we're trying to make an impact and have purpose in this new normal. And Workshop Week is here to help. We have an incredible program of interactive sessions across 4 tracks aimed at supporting our sector to come together to connect, improve, reinvent, and create solutions to current and future social and business challenges, whether they're individual, organizational, industry focused, or societal. And those are the 4 tracks for this week. It is going to be a great week. And in fact, we kicked it off yesterday with 3 sessions providing a platform for social issue focused initiatives that Beyond Sport delivers with a suite of incredible partners. We had sessions on sports role in STEM education with the Sport and STEM Alliance. We had an impassioned and honest discussion on sport and mental health via the Stay in the Game Network Forum. And there were inspiring and engaging discussions on soccer for social change and the growth and development of women's soccer, both on and off the field of play. And that was Beyond Soccer at the end of the day, which really rounded off a brilliant first day. If you missed it, or if you want to watch again, you can access the recordings in the Expo area of your screen, which is on the bottom left as you look at it. I highly recommend listening to the athlete panel from Stay in the Game. It was truly remarkable. But looking ahead to today and this week, I wanted to share with you some hints, tips, and housekeeping to make sure that you can make the most of the content that's most relevant to you. So for those of you that are part of the Beyond Sport family and attended last year's Beyond Sports House in New York, you'll remember that you could pick and choose the sessions you wanted to attend, kind of like cafeteria style, which allowed you to create an agenda that fits your schedule. And whilst we can't invite you all to another house right now, we've recreated a virtual house right here across time zones and themes. We know that everyone is juggling a myriad of responsibilities right now, working from home, schooling from home, navigating the new world, pivoting business, and also remembering that we do remain in a global pandemic. So please do make Workshop Week work for you. Here's a little bit of that housekeeping. We hope that you find this platform, Hop-In, engaging and easy to use throughout the week. It is designed so you can interact with each other as well as with our speakers. And there'll be plenty of time this week to attend roundtable discussions where you can truly contribute. One of the things we consistently hear after Beyond Sport events is that you all feel a little less alone, having met and connected with people trying to achieve the same outcomes, those with the same challenges as you, those that share the same highs and the same lows. And that is what this week is about. And to facilitate those connections, maybe I can ask you to draw your attention to the right-hand side of your screen, where you'll see the chat function. Please do use the chat function in the event to let us know your thoughts on what you're hearing, questions you might have for our speakers, and of course, please share where you're joining us from and any of the work that you're currently doing that you'd like to share with the wider audience. In addition to using the chat function for those things, I'd be really grateful if you could give our speakers a warm welcome by sending messages to them there. At live events, speakers get to hear this huge round of applause. They see smiles in the audience, they see familiar faces, they get to steady their nerves for a moment. So whilst we can't do that in the old way today, we can do it in the new way. So don't be shy in sharing your appreciation in that chat channel. Taking another look at the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the People tab, which will tell you who's here. We've had over 700 people register on the platform, so it couldn't be easier to network, connect, and share. You can search for someone and either privately message them or request a video call. You'll see a red dot next to the word people when you have new messages. If you are having any difficulties with the platform, please feel free to tag Ben Freeman in your message in the event channel, or speak to the Hop-In tech team by clicking on the small blue smiley face box in the bottom left of your screen. And as ever, please be active on social media today and all week, using the hashtag BYS Workshop Week and tagging in at Beyond Sport. We would love to hear from you. So as ever, I assume you all know where your bathrooms are, you know where your refreshments are. So I think we can say that's housekeeping done and we're ready to go. Today's agenda will see the Industry Solutions track discussing sports role in institutional racism. The organisational track will look at how you can pivot your fundraising focus. Individual improvement We'll look at compassionate managing as we lead and support staff during these uncertain times. And this evening, or depending on where you're joining in from this morning, we'll close with the social impact track, exploring innovative partnerships to leverage the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But we're going to start the day with our social impact track and a session on addressing climate change in this new landscape. There will be some time for questions at the end, so please do write your questions in the chat function. So I couldn't be more humbled to introduce our keynote speaker. Lewis Pugh is an ocean advocate and an endurance swimmer. Over a period of 30 years, he has pioneered swims in the most challenging environments on Earth, including the Antarctic, the North Pole, and the Himalayas. And he's developed an understanding of the beauty and fragility of life and its many ecosystems. In 2013, the United Nations appointed him the first UN Patron of the Ocean. Before you get to see him live, here's a short film of his work.
I remember getting out at the end of that swim and looking down at my hands, and my hands were swollen. They were completely frozen solid. I couldn't bend my fingers. The pain was absolutely excruciating. And at that moment, I thought to myself, how many more years have you got in you to do this type of stuff? How many more years? There's a price which you pay. Yeah, there's a price. My motivation is very, very simple. I've been swimming for over 30 years. I've seen the oceans change, and I'm passionate about trying to protect these last wilderness areas on this earth. These areas are so, so special. I remember a few days ago when I was down there by the emperor penguins, and you just see how harsh their life is. Over 30% of the little baby penguins, they die in the first year, and they just don't need the additional pressures which humans put on top of them because of climate change and also because of this massive industrial overfishing which takes place here in the Southern Ocean. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
For years, he has been swimming in the freezing waters of the Arctic and the Antarctic to call the attention of the world to the plight of both the North and the South Pole.
Yeah, it's Lewis. He's my hero. He's gonna protect this continent, and for me, I'm so happy to come here because it's in Russia we say it's better one time to see than 100 times to hear.
Some people say that Lewis has got loads of experience. This isn't hard for him. He doesn't get cold. He's superhuman. Nothing could be further from the truth. I've been swimming now for the past 6 months preparing for this swim. Freezing cold, many, many days. It's hard. In the moments before a swim, it's absolutely crucial that one is psyched up, but is not psyched out. Okay, and you've got to really, really focus and just get your mind ready. Because these swims are so dangerous, because I'm now going to be swimming through a tunnel with ice on top of me, in water which is about 0 degrees, and ice which can fall down, and moulins which can suck you straight away down to the bottom, hundreds of meters down to the bedrock. And so it's crucial that I calm my mind down, and then just remember, I've done the training, the safety's in place, but now you've got to commit, and you've got to commit 100%. And that's the thing about swimming in a tunnel, especially when there's a river through a tunnel. And that is that once you've started, you've then got to go through. And it's this power of a made-up mind. That I'm starting here, I'm going through the tunnel, and I'm getting all the way to the end. And nothing is going to stop me from getting there. There was one moment of great tension and utter fear and terror during that swim. I was going through the tunnel, I was about halfway through, and then from above, I heard this almighty boom. It was like somebody had fired a cannon straight the way through. And I looked up and I thought to myself, no, please, no, no. I thought, is this whole thing going to come piling down on top of me? And luckily nothing happened. And I swam those last few meters through that tunnel as quickly as I could. I have never, ever been so happy to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
To be next to him yesterday, see the way in which he gets into these freezing waters only in his bathing suit, is nothing short of science fiction.
And everybody ready right now to get together as a big team to fight against climate change for one reason, for the future life on the planet.
I can assure you about one thing, and that is that my determination to protect this part of the world is far stronger than the indifference of any political leaders. I will stand and I will fight for this place, whatever the cost. Whatever the cost.
He's known as the human polar bear. Pugh has been swimming in Arctic temperatures for years now.
Nice one, Lewis!
Wearing nothing but a Speedo, a cap and goggles. In 2006, he swam the entire length of the River Thames in an effort to raise climate change awareness. The following year, he became the first person to complete a long-distance swim at the North Pole and the first person to swim the width of the Maldives. Now Pugh is back again to help fight climate change. And this time, he's swimming across the Antarctic, specifically under the Antarctic ice sheet.
Lewis Pugh has seen the impact of rising sea levels up close. British endurance swimmer, nicknamed the human polar bear, just became the first person to swim beneath an Antarctica ice sheet to show the world what it's about to lose.
I've never seen anything as beautiful as this.
Scientists recently revealed that underwater glacial melting is happening up to 100 times faster than they thought.
This place needs protecting. It needs protecting because all our futures depend on it.
Pugh is now calling on those same countries who agreed to share this continent to also help ensure it doesn't look much different 200 years from now. Jeff Semple, Global News.
I don't want to stand by when the ocean is being trashed and being disrespected and changing. I want to stand there and defend it and protect it.
Over the last 30 years, he's pioneered swims in the most hostile waters on Earth, including the Antarctic, the North Pole, and the Himalayas. And now he has a new challenge.
In January, I head down to Antarctica, and I'm going to attempt the first swim in a superglacial lake. So a superglacial lake is a lake on top of the ice sheet. So what the scientists have now discovered down in East Antarctica is over 65,000 of these lakes which have now appeared as a result of climate change.
Lewis will be facing extreme conditions. Not only will the water be absolutely freezing, but the air temperature could easily reach in the -30s due to strong winds.
It's such an incredible shock to the system when you get into water this cold. And normally a kilometer in this water takes me around about 20, 21 minutes to complete. Now, 21 minutes is not a long swim, but 21 minutes in those conditions is right on the edge of human endurance.
Wow, Lewis, what a video. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience as we work through the connectivity stuff. Fingers crossed it will hold from us. So welcome to Workshop Week, and thank you for joining us. One of the lines in the video that just struck me, you said how pleased you were to see the light at the end of the actual tunnel you were swimming through. Do you see a light at the end of the metaphorical tunnel that we're in terms of climate change?
That's a really good question, Radha. I think that the biggest threat which we face now is the belief that somebody else is going to be able to fix this problem, the belief that somebody else is going to solve this climate crisis. You know, we're facing an existential threat to life on Earth, and people always ask me, do you have hope? Hope has got to be earned. Hope cannot be a strategy. We've got to do something each and every day to ensure that we have a future. And this is what I'm saying to kids all the time, is that every single day they need to do something. There can't just be clicks and hashtags and support and like. There can only be hope. There can only be light at the end of the tunnel if each and every day we are taking action. You have to earn hope.
And those actions and how we earn hope through taking actions, taking a hope credit and putting it in the bank. What sort of actions do we need our audience and then their audiences to take?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing is that each and every day we are consistent, and each and every day we take action. So for me and my small team, every single day I go down to the sea and I train. I train as much as I can. Every single day we're writing articles. Every single day I'm trying to arrange meetings with politicians and senior ministers in foreign governments to ensure that I can present to them what I'm actually seeing down in Antarctica. For other people though, every time you make a purchase, any purchase which you make is a decision about the future which you want to have for your children and your grandchildren. Whether it's the clothes which you dress in, whether it's the way you transport yourself, the way you heat your home, what you eat, every single one of those, which we make many times in each day, is a decision about our future.
Fantastic. And you know what? That couldn't be clearer to everyone listening, and then all of the people out there. Really be conscious in our lives and make conscious decisions for today and the future. Thank you for sharing that. So let's think about sport then, thinking about this audience. What's sport's role to help people make those decisions?
Well, I think sport is such a powerful force, and for me, sport is such a great convener. I mean, this was there's so much I've just done in East Antarctica, and you'd have seen those two people on the video. The one was the former president of Costa Rica. The other one was a man called Slava Fetisov. Now, for those of you who love sport, you'll probably have heard of Slava Fetisov. He would be to Russia what somebody like Muhammad Ali was to America, or what Pele was to Brazil. He's Russia's greatest sports hero. He was an ice hockey player. He won the Stanley Cup. He was 2 times Olympic champion. And I realized that I had to go and meet him. And so I went to meet him and I said to him, I said, Slava, would you please come with me to Antarctica? Now, Slava was a defenseman. Some say that he was the greatest defenseman in history. And he said something to me when I asked him, I said, please, Slava, please, will you come with me to Antarctica? I need a Russian voice down there. And the reason why I needed a Russian voice was because under international law, there are 25 countries which govern Antarctica. We've all agreed now to protect 3 other big areas down in Antarctica. It's just Russia and China which still need to agree it. And so I definitely needed a Russian voice down there. And so I said to Slava, Slava, will you come with me? And he looked at me and he said, you know, Lewis, the world needs more defenders and protectors. And that really resonated with me. We need more defenders. We need more protectors. And so I took him down there and the rest is history. I mean, we were able to protect the Ross Sea, and that protected area down in Antarctica is 1.5 million square kilometers in extent. I mean, that's the size of Britain, France, Germany, Italy, all put together. Myself and Slava are now trying to get another 3 areas in Antarctica protected. Collectively, there will be 4 million square kilometers in extent. That's double the size of Western Europe. So for us, sport has been this incredible ability for people from opposite ends of the world, from 2 very different political systems. In fact, myself, I grew up in Great Britain. Slava grew up in the Soviet Union, 2 countries who look at the world in very different ways, but we were able to come together to build a bridge to try and solve an issue which affects all of us around the world. That was the power of sport. It was to be able to cut through. I think the other wonderful thing about sport, and here I am, one person taking off all my clothes and diving into ice cold water, swimming in places where you shouldn't be able to swim, but for climate change. And it sends a very, very simple message. Anybody can understand it, even a young child. So that's what sport enabled myself and Slava to do.
Fantastic. Thank you. I love that idea of Slava as being the great defender, and your title is in fact protector. So we have a defender and a protector right there. Thank you for sharing that. We have a few questions that have come in from the audience, and one of them is that we've noticed a huge decrease in pollution levels during the pandemic. And how do we tap into this time to make positive changes as individuals and businesses moving forward? And that came, I think, from Molly Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I think certainly in terms of air pollution, we've seen an enormous change, and the ability to be able to walk around cities and no longer have that deafening sound pollution and air pollution is a major thing. But what worries me now is that we're getting into very, very bad habits. Every single thing is being plastic coated. Every single thing is having bleach and Dettol put all over them. And inevitably that all lands up in the ocean. So we're getting into some very, very bad habits. Just when we were beginning to tackle single-use plastic, now we're finding so much of this on beaches around the world. So I think it's a mixed bag, and it'll take some time for us to realize, what the true extent and what the true impact of COVID has been on the planet.
Absolutely. And you talked about what we will see in the oceans, and in the video you talked about the changes that you physically seen in there, having been in those oceans yourself. Can you share with our audience some examples of what you've seen, those changes?
The biggest changes have been in the polar regions. So I've now been swimming in the polar regions since about 2003. The first time I swam in the Arctic, and this is north of the island of Spitsbergen, very, very close to the North Pole. The first time I swam there, the water was 3 degrees centigrade. I went back there 2 years ago, and the water is now 10 degrees centigrade. So it's gone from 3 degrees to 10 degrees in just 12 years. So you've got warm water moving up the Atlantic, pushing up against the Arctic ice packs. You don't have to be a scientist to realize that when you have warm water moving up against ice, that ice is going to melt, and it's going to have a profound impact on every single person on this planet, every single future generation, and obviously the whole of the animal kingdom. It's desperately serious. So not only have I seen the big changes in the Arctic, but obviously down in Antarctica as well. So I'm speaking to you from Cape Town today. If you fly 4 hours south of here, you'll arrive in East Antarctica. And when you arrive in East Antarctica, it's a sight to behold, because I want you to imagine ice as far as you can see, but everywhere you see these melted pools of water on top of the ice, rivers flowing through the ice. This area is experiencing some of the fastest climate change now. The other big change, not just in the Arctic and the Antarctic, but is obviously the coral reefs. Our coral reefs are being absolutely devastated now by warming sea levels and by climate change. I remember when I did my first big coral reef swim in the Maldives. I'll never ever forget it. It was literally like diving onto the set of Nemo, swimming along this beautiful coral reef, and underneath me all these tropical fish, manta rays, turtles, sharks. It was absolutely magnificent. I went back there a few years ago, and things had changed considerably. The coral was completely white. It was bleached. It had died. And with it, that natural defense around those islands has gone, and all the fish had disappeared. The sharks had gone. It was devastating to see it. So my message to your audience today is, COVID is obviously a very, very serious problem. Okay, it's impacted so many people around the world. So many people have died. Okay, it's devastated our economies. But we also have to focus on climate change, because climate change is quite different. Climate change is an existential threat to all life on Earth, and we have to focus on that every single day. For me, I'm absolutely clear from having seen what I've seen in the Arctic, the Antarctic, the coral reefs of the world, that we are now facing an existential threat to life on Earth. And so my question to members of your audience is very, very simple. And that is, if we're facing an existential threat to life on Earth, what steps are you taking today to ensure that we have a future? And I urge you to take those steps, whatever those steps may be.
Well, there's the challenge, audience. You know, Lewis Pugh has put that out there for you. Let me just ask one question, if I may, on behalf of the audience. If the sports industry could come together individually and collectively and take a step, is there one that you would truly advocate that everyone does starting from today?
You know, inside me is this tension, and it's a tension which I've never been able to resolve. On the one side, so when it comes to this diplomacy now, where I'm trying to work with 25 governments to protect Antarctica, diplomacy takes time. Diplomacy requires that you go to other countries, that you meet the ministers, that you meet with their leaders, and you can't rush it. You're not trying to sell secondhand cars. It requires building blocks, it requires patience, it requires listening very, very carefully. On the other side, I see the huge changes which are taking place in the environment and the speed at which they're taking place. And I'm saying to myself, we need to speed up. We need to speed up very, very quickly. So I have these two voices inside my head at the same time. Move very quickly, but also have the patience when it comes to diplomacy. Unfortunately now, we have run out of time. It's very, very clear to me that when I see the changes which are taking place in the polar regions, that we have run out of time, and the impact of this is going to be enormous on everybody. So if there's just one request which I have for the sports industry, is to ensure that you tackle all these issues. There are so many important issues in the world, whether it be COVID, whether it be diversity, whether it be racism, whether it be gender equality, whether it be health. All these issues are very, very, very serious, and they impact so many people. But there's one issue which is an existential threat to life on Earth, and I urge all of us to do just one thing every single day to ensure that we do have a future.
Thank you so much, Lewis. Thank you for your time, for sharing your experience, your passion, and your suggestion. I would say demand, and I'm going to tell people, you've got to do this, we've got to do this, and I'll commit to doing it as well. Thank you so much for your time today, Lewis, and we're with you on this journey. Thank you.
Radha, thank you so much.
Wow. Well, there we go. Everyone knows that they've got something they're going to do today that perhaps they hadn't done before. Please do keep sharing your thoughts, questions, etc. in the event channel. What a great way to kick off our workshop week Tuesday. The next session is in 4 hours, and that's the industry solutions track. That's a panel on sports' role in addressing institutionalized racism, followed by an interactive roundtable discussion that we would like you all to contribute to as we seek collaborative solutions. So please, please, please do join us in 4 hours. Between now and then, you can feel free to stay on the platform, connect with people, video chat, try and network. You know, over 700 people have registered on the platform. So even if they're not live right now, you can send them a message if you want to connect with them. Thank you once again for joining us this morning. I've been Radha. This is Beyond Sport Workshop Week, and I look forward to seeing you all in a few hours' time.